Big screening with all of our friends there, but a lot of it was a big deal. I hadn't been to one of my own movie openings in a long time. Richard Gere, a name that once lit up Hollywood screens with charm, talent, and roles people will never forget. From Pretty Woman to An Officer and a Gentleman, he wasn't just a movie star. He was a famous person known around the world. Away from the cameras, his personal life got as much attention as his career. But behind all the fancy stuff were struggles, heartbreaks, and moments that changed him forever. Today, at 76, his life looks very different from the one fans remember. He rarely shows up in public, and when he does, the change is hard to miss. Join us as we take a closer look at his journey and what his life looks like today. Early life and education. Richard Gere was born in Philadelphia on August 31, 1949. He was the oldest son and the second child of Doris and, a homemaker, and Homer George Gere, who worked as an insurance salesman. His father had once hoped to become a church minister, and the family raised Richard in the Methodist faith. They later moved to Syracuse, New York, where Richard spent his childhood. His family history stretched back hundreds of years. His father's great-grandfather had even changed the family name from Gere to Gere. And on both his mother's and father's side, Richard could trace his roots to the Mayflower. He had ancestors like William Brewster, Francis Cook, and Richard Warren, names that connected him directly to the Pilgrims. Growing up, Richard showed a creative side early on. At North Syracuse Central High School, which he finished in 1967. He was not just a student, he was an athlete and a musician. He played the trumpet and was great at gymnastics. His skills in gymnastics earned him a scholarship at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. There he began studying philosophy, which showed another side of his curiosity. But after 2 years, Richard made a choice that would change his future forever. He left college without graduating. His path was no longer toward gymnastics or philosophy. It was pulling him towards something very different. And soon that path took him into the world of acting where challenges and opportunities waited. Rise to fame in Hollywood. Richard began to appear in films during the mid-1970s. His first big chance came with The Lords of Flatbush in 1974. But things did not go as planned. After fighting with Sylvester Stallone, Richard was replaced in the film. But setbacks like this only made his drive stronger. He soon appeared in Looking for Mr. Goodbar in 1977, a small role that still got people's attention. Then came Days of Heaven in 1978, directed by Terrence Malick. The film got strong reviews and Richard's career began to move upward. The real turning point came in 1980 with American Gigolo. That film made him a household name and his striking screen presence caught the world's eye. Just 2 years later, in 1982, he starred in An Officer and a Gentleman with Deborah Winger. The film made nearly $130 million and earned 6 Academy Award nominations. Richard himself got his first Golden Globe nomination and his star status was sealed, but his career had ups and downs. Through the rest of the 1980s, he appeared in movies that had mixed success. Then the 1990s brought him back into the spotlight. Films like Internal Affairs and Pretty Woman in 1990 became massive hits. Pretty Woman in particular paired him with Julia Roberts and gave him another Golden Globe nomination. The decade only built his success further. He starred in Summersby with Jodie Foster in 1993, Primal Fear in 1996, and Runaway Bride in 1999, which put him together once again with Julia Roberts. He even played an IRA militant in The Jackal in 1997, where he worked on perfecting an Irish accent. By 1999, People magazine named him the sexiest man alive. That same year, he appeared in 3 hit films, The Mothman Prophecies, Unfaithful, and the award-winning Chicago. His performance in Chicago earned him a Golden Globe win. For Richard, the early 2000s seemed like another peak, and he showed his ability to do different things, too, taking on a ballroom dancing role in Shall We Dance? In 2004. That film brought in $170 million worldwide. But Hollywood success is never permanent, and Richard would soon face new struggles both on and off the screen. Later, career and critical recognition. After Shall We Dance, Richard's projects took different directions. His next movie, B Season, in 2005, did not do well at the box office. Still, Richard kept working, starring in The Hunting Party in 2007, where he played a journalist covering war in Bosnia. Later that year, He appeared in I'm Not There alongside big names like Heath Ledger and Christian Bale. He also teamed up with Diane Lane in the romantic drama Nights in Rodanthe in 2008. The critics were harsh, even listing it among the worst films of the year, but it still made over $84 million worldwide. That film also marked the last time Richard worked on a project fully produced by a major Hollywood studio. He later revealed why. Richard explained that his political views, especially about China, had made him unwelcome in Hollywood. Many studios relied heavily on the Chinese market, and his outspoken stance cost him opportunities. Instead of fading away, Richard turned to independent films. These projects gave him some of the best reviews of his entire career. His performance in Arbitrage in 2012 earned him a 4th Golden Globe nomination, with critics calling his work too good to ignore. He also got Lifetime Achievement Awards from film festivals in the Hamptons, Hollywood, and Cairo. Richard continued to take risks. In 2016, he surprised audiences in Norman, where he played a small-time fixer. The role showed a different side of him, one that he described as the sides of us we know are annoying and needy. Critics praised his performance, with some saying it was fascinating and even worthy of an Oscar nomination. Beyond acting, Richard also showed his talents in music and movement. He wrote and performed the piano piece in Pretty Woman and played a guitar solo in Runaway Bride. He learned tap dancing for Chicago and studied karate for An Officer and a Gentleman. Even with all this hard work, one thing remained true. Richard Gere never got an Academy Award nomination. Critics and fans alike often describe him as one of the best actors who deserved that honor but never got it. And that left many wondering how an actor so talented, so beloved, could face such highs and lows in both Hollywood and his personal journey. The actor who never planned his career. Richard Gere is one of those names that almost everyone knows. He became a global star through movies like An Officer and a Gentleman, Pretty Woman, and Chicago. Along the way, he collected awards like a Golden Globe, earned an Emmy nomination, and built a fan base around the world. But what's surprising is that Gere never had a strict plan for his career. In fact, he admitted, "My career has never been thought out. I never engineered a career. I just have always done whatever I wanted." That simple honesty explains why his film choices sometimes surprised people. He also shared that while an actor is often restricted by what roles are offered, he felt lucky. He got to work with what he called an incredible list of brilliant directors and actors and writers. Looking back, he even admitted, "I'm kind of amazed myself that I've been able to ride this career this long with such good people." Those words show that for Gere, success wasn't something carefully built step by step. It was a ride he took with talent, luck, and timing. But just because he was grateful doesn't mean the road was always easy. Hollywood had its tensions for Gere, including trouble with co-stars and disagreements behind the camera. But the biggest clash in his career didn't come from another actor. It came from one of the biggest stages in the world, the Academy Awards. Speaking out at the Oscars, Richard Gere wasn't just known for his acting. He was also deeply involved in causes he cared about. As a Buddhist, he gave much of his time to Tibet. In 1987, he co-founded the Tibet House, and by 1995, he became chairman of the board for the International Campaign for Tibet. Through the Gere Foundation, he supported preserving Tibetan culture, funding HIV/AIDS research, and standing up against human rights abuses. With passions like these, it wasn't unusual that Gere wanted to use his fame for something more. That's exactly what happened in 1993. Gere walked on stage at the Oscars to present the award for Best Art Direction. But when he reached the microphone, he didn't follow the script. Instead, he spoke from his heart about Tibet. He described the horrendous human rights situation under Chinese rule and called for peace. He even asked the audience to join him in sending thoughts of love and sanity to Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, hoping he would pull troops out of Tibet. His words shocked many, not because of what he believed, but because of where he chose to say it. The Academy was strict about keeping politics away from the Oscars stage. Gere's speech crossed that line. As a result, the Academy banned him from future ceremonies. He wasn't alone in facing consequences that year. Actors Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins also spoke out at the Oscars, addressing the struggles of Haitian refugees, and they too were banned. But Gere's punishment had another layer. China banned him for life. For an actor working in Hollywood, That was a huge blow because the Chinese market had become a massive source of income for studios. Gere's choice to speak up came with long-lasting costs. And yet instead of silencing him, the ban only became part of his story. Years in the shadows and a return. After 1993, Richard Gere disappeared from the Oscars. For 20 years, he stayed away, never presenting, never returning to that famous stage. But what made it striking was his attitude about it all. He didn't seem upset. In fact, he told HuffPost years later, apparently, I've been rehabilitated. It seems if you stay around long enough, they forget they've banned you. It was his way of showing that the whole thing didn't weigh heavily on him. By 2013, 2 decades later, he was back at the Oscars. But even then, he admitted he wasn't too eager to return to the tuxedo life. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter in 2017, he joked about his absence, saying, "I didn't have to put on a tuxedo again. I was fine with that." With a shrug, he showed that the ban had not left him bitter. For him, the speech in 1993 was something he stood by, and the years away from the spotlight were simply part of the price he paid. The important thing was that he never took back his words. He never regretted using that stage to talk about Tibet. And that decision shaped how the world saw him, not just as a Hollywood star, but as someone willing to risk his place in the spotlight for what he believed in. And that clash between his activism and Hollywood's politics explained not only his years away from the Oscars, but also why his career began to look very different from the one fans had once known. When the box office went quiet. You see, Richard Gere was once the face of Hollywood romance. He became a household name with films like American Gigolo in 1980, An Officer and a Gentleman in 1982, and Pretty Woman in 1990. Later, his performance in Chicago in 2002 proved that he wasn't just a romantic lead. He could shine in musicals, too. 4 years, his career was busy and full of success. Audiences loved him. Critics praised him, and studios relied on his name to sell tickets. He even had a fun fact that many fans didn't know. His middle name is Tiffany.